Welcome to Butterflies and Bows. My name is Michelle Dutrissa and I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up. What I'd like to share with you today is a little bag that I've made. This is it here. Just a little treat bag or a little gift bag. It fits a nice piece of jewellery inside, or even a Ferrero Rocher inside there will fit nicely. So what I'd like to share with you is how I've made this bag. So I'm just going to pop these pieces to one side. And what I've started off with is a 15cm square or a 6-inch square piece of designer series paper. Now you would not be able to do this with cardstock because it's just too thick. So designer series paper works well. So another tool that we're going to be using is our Stampin' Up Punchbaord along with the scoring tool. So here's our Punchbaord. And the measurements we're using on our Punchbaord is 1 3/8 and 4 5/8. So 1 3/8 and 4 5/8. So we're going to pop our piece of cardstock underneath there till we're hitting that back of that baseboard there. Line it up at 1 3/8. We're going to punch and score. Move it along to the 4 5/8 mark. Punch and score. Turn it around 45 degrees. Again, line it up with the 1 3/8. Punch and score. Move it along to the 4 5/8. Punch and score. Again, turn it around 45 degrees. And let's do the next side. So 1 3/8. Punch and score. 4 5/8. Punch and score. Last turn 45 degrees. 1 3/8. Punch and score. 4 5/8. Punch and score. Now the next thing we need to do is round all these corners here. So we're going to take our Punchbaord, get rid of those pieces there, turn it around to the other side, and we've got a corner rounder on this side here. Corners in and punch. Pop that in, punch, until all 4 of those points have been done. We only really need to round 3 of them, but I find it's just easier just to round the whole 4 and then they're done. So let's move that Punchbaord out of the road. So there we have that. Now what we need to do is we've got 2 score lines going on this side and 2 score lines going diagonally across this side. So we're just going to fold on those and burnish those lines, just so that we have nice crisp folds. Now we've also scored these pieces here, but at the moment I'm not going to be worrying about those. Okay, so we're going to turn this over. Now I'm going to make this my front of my bag, and I need to get a score line which is halfway between that score line there and that score line there. And the easiest way I found to do that is to take it, fold it over, whoops, sorry, and I'm going to take this score line that runs along here and line it up with that score line there. Now sometimes I find it easier to get my fingernail into that point and then bring that line down to meet that line, and use my fingernail or even the bone folder on the inside just to give you that nice sharp edge. And we're going to go around and do that with each side. So fold it, put my fingernail into that intersection point there and bring the 2 down together and score. Again, whoops, same with this one. I'm going to put my fingernail in there to hold that point, bring down and fold, and we have one more left to do. So again, I'm going to put my fingernail into there, fold it down and score just like that. Okay. Once we have done that, we need now to actually glue this all together. So what I've done is I'm going to be using Stampin' Up's tear and tape. And what I've done, I've already placed this on. So I'm going to turn it over to this side. Now you can use the multi-purpose green glue, this one here, if you wish. And I have found that it works very successfully, but I've discovered that I actually like using the tear and tape for this particular project. So what we're going to do, we need to put a piece of tearing tape onto each one of these, and I haven't done this one here as yet. So what we're going to do, because this line here is going to fold back onto that, I just need to put a piece of tearing tape just from this score line across here, running along this line here, out to that outer edge. So I've got one on each piece. I've done this one a little bit different, but it doesn't really matter as long as when those fold up, each one of those is going to join. And you can see how that's going to start coming and forming a box. Okay. The other thing that I've done is I've added a bit of scoring tape also on the inside of my box, because when I bring all this in together, what I'm going to be doing is adhering some of these sides in together there. Okay, I don't know whether you can actually see that. I'll bring that up a bit closer. So what I've done is I've worked out, okay, which is going to be the front of my my little box. So which is going to be the front of my basket, my bag here. So I've decided that this piece panel here is going to be my front and back. It doesn't matter which one you choose, but I've chosen this one here. I'm going to be folding this piece down onto there, and then that piece onto there like that. So I needed to put a bit of adhesive in here and a bit of adhesive there. I've done exactly the same on this side. I haven't worried about these portions over here at all. The other place I've put some tear and tape. This is going to be the front of my box. So if we have a look at my box here, we open that up. We've got a flap here that comes from the back over to the front. But the other flap, so that's going to be this piece here, that's going to come across over to the front. But the other piece, if we just take my little goodies out of there, is actually going to be tucked on the inside. Can you see that in there? I don't know whether you can or not, but it's just tucked in there. So I've added a bit of tearing tape there because that's going to tuck down. Now with this bag here, I've actually used magnets for my closure. You can also use Velcro. So I'm going to show you also how I've done that, because I've done a lot of this before I've actually even started putting my bag together. So I can get the best adhesion from the magnets, what I have done, now I've just popped it over here somewhere. These are my magnets. So I've got two little magnets here. They're about 5mm wide and about 1.5mm in depth. There's two there together. So I'm just going to take one of those off. And I've stuck that onto a glue dot. And all I want to do is I'm going to stick that glue dot just around about the middle of my bag. So it's just there, and I've just stuck it on one side. So I'm not sticking it on this side, I've stuck it in the middle. So now I'm ready to put my bag together. Okay, so can you see that there? I hope this all makes sense to you. But if you also watch the other two videos, you could probably see what I'm doing. Okay, so now we're going to put this bag together. So what we're going to do is I'm going to start off with by taking the tearing tape. So this is going to be the right side of my bag. Take the tear and tape off that side and bring those corners together. And do that on all four corners. Bring that together. And you can see that since I've scored everything and burnished all those lines, those corners are folding in quite nicely together. Now it does get very tight and fiddly on the inside, but we've got our last one here. Now my nails are long, so I can easily get those in. If you can't, just get at the point of a pair of scissors and bring that in. So all my corners now are all folded in, and you can see all those little bits on the inside. Now this is where it can get a little bit fiddly. So I'm just going to grab my scissors here. Now remember, I have already put some tear and tape on the inside. I've decided that that's going to be my front, that's my back, and they're my two sides. With those two side pieces there, I'm just going to fold those back and pinch them in. Okay, so they're going to go on the outside. That's what gives me this nice little decorative piece just here on the outside. So I've got these pieces in here with the adhesive in there. You can just see it. So what I'm going to do with a pair of scissors, she says, I'm going to take one piece off and that piece there I'm going to fold it to the front. So there's, sorry, my back. So there's my back of my box there. So I've adhered that piece down. Then this piece here. So what you should be doing is folding 2 flaps to your back of your box and 2 flaps to your front. So that taking that side piece off and I'm pushing it to the back. I'm going to turn it around and I'm going to do the same thing here. I've got a piece here. And I've got my little magnet in there, and that's going to come over the top. Just really adhere that magnet down. Then there's the other piece in here. Now I'm sorry, this isn't the most easiest thing to see. Again, take that piece off and adhere that to the front. So what I've done, I had 4 pieces in here. I've glued 2 to the front and 2 to the back. There's nothing here on the inside on the sides. Okay. What I'm going to do then is take these 2 side pieces here and pull them out and bring the front and the back together and just pinch them there at the side. Okay. So here's our front piece. So I'm going to take that little bit of backing off that tear and tape there and then just fold that in, and that's now giving us our front and back. So that back piece then can just be folded over to there, but we still need to put our closure on here. So I'm going to take my glue dots, my other magnet. Now I need to make sure that my magnet's going to go down on the right side, so I find it a lot easier to put my magnet down there. It's going to flip to the right side. Take my glue dots and my scissors, just pick up a glue dot, pop it down on top of that magnet and then close that over. So there's my little closure. Okay. So what we've got missing, we've got our handles missing. Okay, let me just clear some of this out of the road. Close that one up. So the easiest way I found to do my handles, I've got a piece of cardstock here, around about 14.5 to 15 centimetres in length. So again, around about that 6-inch length. And I find the easiest way to do the handles is to grab my tear and tape. Now what I have done, I don't know whether you can see, but I've actually scored 2 lines. So there's my 6 inches that way. So if I get my scoring board, what I've done is I've put that on 1/2 inch mark, move my cutting blade out of the road, and I'm just going to score it down on that side, turn it around, put my other side on the 1/2 inch. Now that's the 6-inch piece going across there, and again score it on that side. Now what that's going to do is it just gives me some little bendy pieces here, and I found that that just makes the bag last a little bit. I found that was an area that tore very easily. Okay, so that just gives a little bit more softness to that. It's breaking down the fibres and just allows that bag to be able to someone to be able to get into it. So once I've done that, I've taken my tearing tape and I'm going to run a piece of tearing tape down either side of that 1/2 inch mark. Now if you're doing a lot of these bags, this is what makes it really easy. I haven't done that really straight, so let's use this side here. So I've got my tearing tape on there. I'm going to line this up to my 1/2 inch or 1/4 inch mark actually, and we're going to cut our handles. So we need to take our score blade out of the road and bring up our cutting blade, and we're going to cut 2 handles at 1/4 inch. And as you can see, my adhesive now is on there. So if you're doing a lot of these like I was doing, I've made approximately 40 to 50 of these, that makes it a lot easier and a lot quicker. So let's just move all of this again out of the road. Put that up there. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to bend my score lines just to give it, not too harshly, just give it a little bit of a bend. And the other thing is to grab your bone folder and give those pieces just a bit of a curve in it. Take off our backings. I probably actually should have curved that in the opposite direction. That makes it better. So I've taken off one backing there. Now I'm just going to put the backs on first because I have something that's going to go. So the back handles are going on first. And they just go flush with that score line is going flush with the top of my bag. So you can see there's the top of my bag across there, and they're well and truly stuck on there. But I haven't done the front one yet, because what I did was I put a little tag on there, it just says for you. So to make those, I've used some basic black cardstock to match our handles, and I have embossed the For You stamp from the tabs for everything up here on here, which is, let me see if I can find it. There it are, For You. And then I'll punch it out with the 3/4 inch punch, putting that in the center and punching that out. So I need to do one with the For You on it and one just in a plain black. Now I've already added a dimensional on the back of there. I need a little piece of the white baker's twine, and this is around about 10 centimeters in length. Yep. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take our backing off there, pop that on. Now we're going to take one of our handles, we'll take our front handle really. Remember lining up that score at the top of my bag. Now you could make your loop already. So now I'm going to line up, whoops, it's stuck to my finger. Line up that score line with the top of my bag again, pushing down nice and firmly. So now I've got this is the one that hasn't got the For You on it. I'm going to thread that through that front handle, bring it over and stick it back down onto the front onto the dimensional. Just trim that back a little bit because I really don't want them to be seen. Then I'm just going to take the For You and line up those 2 circles and squeeze those together. And there we are, you have that little for you. Just to finish off the bag, we need a pretty little closure. So what I have used for that, and I have got that somewhere up here, is I have used the clear faceted gems, and I'm using the larger ones. So open that up. And we're just going to use my scissors just to take one of those off. And just stick that over the top, around about where that magnet would be. Open that up and just really push that down. And there's our little bag. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that. Anyone who's going to the convention at Darling Harbour in Sydney at Luna Park, I'll be having these there, and you can get one from me. Well, thank you. Have a lovely day, and I hope to catch up with you later. Bye.